You ain't been up off that porch now. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I got the horses in the back, horse tack is attached. Hat is matted black, got the boots that's black to match. Riding on a horse, you can whip your Porsche. I've been in the valley, you ain't been up off that porch now. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. To the old town road, I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I got the horses in the back, horse tack is attached. Hat is matted black, got the boots that's black to match. Riding on a horse, you can whip your Porsche. I've been in the valley, you ain't been up off that porch now. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I got the horses in the back, horse tack is attached. Hat is matted black, got the boots that's black to match. Riding on a horse, you can whip your Porsche. I've been in the valley, you ain't been up off that porch now. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. To the old town road, I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I got the horses in the back, horse tack is attached. Hat is matted black, got the boots that's black to match. Riding on a horse, you can whip your Porsche. I've been in the valley, you ain't been up off that porch now. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing.
girls. Welcome to the recorder class. Again, I'm Mr. Cassidy. It's nice to see you guys. Today, we're going to go through some more basics of recorder, okay? So we're not going to dive in too deep this week again. I want to wait until after spring break, till there's time for boys and girls to get new recorders, right? If they have to buy them. It's a little bit difficult to get things really quickly, right now. So I want to make sure that there's enough time, ample time for everybody to get their recorders. But we are going to start with some basics this week on our instruments, okay? So, yeah, let's go ahead and get started, yeah? So first things first, I just wanted to talk about the three instruments one more time. So I want to remember that you guys can be either if you... I'm hoping that you have a lot of these instruments at home and you can just pick it up and start with us. But if that's not possible, remember that these are for purchase. You can get these here at the local music store, Wise Music. You can get them, any of these instruments online. Honestly, Amazon's probably not the best place right now. It's just things just aren't coming very quickly. And also reviews for music instruments on Amazon aren't going to be quite as good as if you go to a music store. So remember going to one of the three music websites that I recommended were Sweetwater, Musician's Friend, or Guitar Center, and they'll have decent deals on these different things and these different instruments, and also have better reviews and things. So remember that our three instruments are the recorder, okay, the guitar, right, and last but not least, the ukulele, right? So any of these instruments are ones that I'll be teaching on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So let's start with the recorder here, because this is recorder class. So you know where to get these if you don't already have them. And then, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started today. Okay, so let me show you one of the main things that we have as a resource. Okay, so on the website, and this is the only instrument stuff that I have up already on the website. So if you want to do recorders, you can get started even without me to a certain extent. So here's what it looks like. On the website, there is already our methodology book, right? So our textbook for this class, okay, is already up there. And on the textbook, this is where we're going to be learning to read music and practice songs. So this is where our music is for the recorder, okay? So if I scroll down, see, it gives you a lot of positioning on how to finger the recorder, okay? And then we're actually going to start today by looking at this, okay? Let me actually zoom in a little bit on that. This was a little better earlier. Hold on. Nope. There we go. Okay. So what I want to look at then today is I want to get into the basics of reading music, and then we'll learn how to hold, and we're going to play our first note, okay? That's going to be our goal today. So let's take a look. So the first thing we need to know is a little bit about reading music, right? So if you haven't done this before, Mr. Griffin actually is making lessons right now. So in the first, second, third, and fourth grade, the lessons this week are on how to read music. So he's going to be starting with that. So you should go check out those videos. Even if you're in like 5th and 6th grade and you want to go check those out, you can go. He's got them online. I think I'm going to be putting them on my YouTube in a playlist. I don't know if it's up just yet, but if you be patient till like maybe tomorrow, I'll probably have those up, okay? So he is going to be going into reading music, okay? So you guys can kind of check that out with him. But we're going to do a lot of that here too, okay? So let's start. Reading music is pretty easy. We're not going to do a whole... really, the basics aren't too bad, okay, and learning how to read music. Not as hard as learning to read. This is actually pretty easy, okay? So at least easy in its basic form. So let's take a look. So the parts of what we need. So the first thing you're going to see, and you've probably seen these things before, you just may not have known what they were. So this right here, these 5 lines, okay, these 5 lines are called the staff, okay, and that's what all the notes are labeled on. So much like in writing, how, you have your lined paper and you write inside the lines, but, some get full size of the lines, some go outside the line. Kind of the same deal. The lines are kind of our guide here for our notes, okay? It's called the staff. You're going to notice this symbol. So this symbol is it's the clef symbol, okay? And what the clef symbol does is it tells us what kind of what range our sound is in. So is it going to be high, right? So like these notes. I'm just playing my guitar right now. So these are our higher notes, right? And these are our lower notes. You can hear they're lower, right? The higher notes on a guitar, right? These are going to be your more analogous to treble, okay? And then this is going to be more bass notes, okay? So this clef right here, the symbol tells us which ones to play, the high ones, the low ones, the really high ones, the really low ones. So it's going to go in and show you kind of what notes. So we're going to be working in this clef. It's called the treble clef, and that's going to be kind of your basic notes that the recorder is going to be able to play, okay? Our measure. So on the clef, so you're going to have your staff, right? Okay, those are your 5 lines. And then you're going to have these lines that go down and cut the staff into pieces. Those are the measures, okay? So the measures of music are when you cut the staff down. Then you're going to have multiple measures, okay? We're going to see that here in a little bit. That's also sometimes called the bar. So if you hear the word bar or you hear the word measure, they're the same thing, basically. They're synonyms, okay? And again, what it means is that we're cutting the staff, okay, into little sections. We call measures, okay? And then, if you look down this last one, you can see kind of how the music is more written, okay? So you're going to have the treble clef symbol at the beginning of your piece of music. You're going to have a couple of numbers, and we'll go over what those mean, but it's the time signature, okay? It means how many beats are in the song, okay? And we're going to do a little bit more of that next time. Like I said, this class is going to be as much reading music as it is going to be learning to play recorder, okay? But just know that that's the time signature. It means 4 beats, okay? And this particular one. And then at the end of the music, you're going to have this double bar. And this double bar means to stop. It means your music's done, okay? You can have other symbols. There's plenty of symbols that we're going to be learning. But these are the basic ones you need to know, other than notes, okay? So again, these 5 lines, they're called the staff, right? Okay. This symbol here is called the treble clef, okay? It's the treble symbol. The numbers here is the time signature. It tells us what time our music is in, and we'll get into that, okay? And then this double bar here means music done, means to stop, right? Okay, so then we just need notes. So if we go down here, we're going to see some music written out, okay? And this top line, actually all these lines, we should be able to play today, okay? Let's look at this first piece of music, number 1, okay? So number 1 has the 5 lines, so this is the staff, right? We can see that it has in the what clef? The treble clef, right? It's in 4/4, that's its time signature, okay? And again, you don't exactly have to know what all this is. So if that's a little confusing to you, don't worry. As long as you know that this is in the staff, okay? And then we have all these measures, right? So you see the lines are splitting up the staff, okay? Those lines are our measures, or in between the lines. So here's measure 1, here's measure 2, here's measure 3, and here's measure 4. And then it asks us to, with 2 lines, to stop, right? Okay, so we play 4 measures and then we stop. And we can see here that we have these notes, okay? And if you've been in any of these classes before, right, with Mr. Griffin, Mr. Rossi, or myself, you know that those notes are quarter notes, right? Quarter notes, okay? Or we would call them in our rhythms, we were calling them jam, right? So those quarter notes, okay, there are 4 of them in each measure. Okay, and that's why, notice, there's 4 in the time signature, and that's what it actually means. It means 4 quarter notes, okay? So we have 4 quarter notes, okay? So if we were to read this like we would in our rhythms, this would have been jam, 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 right? And so on and so forth, okay? So there's our quarter notes. And then at the end here, we have this little symbol. And this symbol, notice there's only 3 quarter notes, okay? And remember, there's supposed to be 4 beats in these measures. That's what this number means, that there's 4 beats. So actually, it's just jam, jam, jam. And then for this one, we rest. That's what that symbol's called. It's called a rest symbol, okay? And so we rest. So we would go jam, 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 shh. We'd rest, right? Okay. The note that this is the B note. So you can see it up here. We have the B note, and the B note is in the 1, 2, third up, the third line up, okay? And the B note on the recorder, you can see from the little graphic here, okay? It has these two holes. They're filled in, right? Because those are the ones that we're going to be using our fingers on. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, let's look at our recorder, okay? So on our recorder, we're going to, let me go ahead and switch our video here for a second. So on our recorder, I have it here in my hand. We're going to take our left hand, okay, and we're going to take our left hand and put it on our recorder. So in our right hand, so our left hand is going to be doing these holes, okay, up here, these 3 holes with our first 3 fingers, okay, and then our thumb is on the back hole back there, okay, everybody with me? Now we're not going to do that for every note. In fact, this first note's not going to do that, but these first 3 notes, these first 3 holes, plus the back hole are going to be held by our thumb and our first 3 fingers, okay? Your other hand, okay, your right hand, is going to be on the bottom of it. Now, I'm not going to hold it on the bottom like this, because then I'm going to plug the hole that's on the bottom there, and I don't want to do that. And I don't want to put my hands on the holes here, or else it's going to make different notes. It's not going to sound right, okay? I want to put my hand on that little notch that's underneath. There's no holes here or anything like that, okay? So if you look at your recorder where there's no holes, I would take my first 2 fingers, right, and just hold it on those notes right there, and then let your other fingers kind of slide a little bit. You can wave at people while you're playing. So that's going to hold your recorder, and that way I can just hold my recorder like that even, right? Which is going to be important for some of our notes, okay? You're going to see a couple lessons in, we're going to have some notes where if you're not holding with this hand like this, you're going to drop your recorder or not be able to play the note, okay? All right, so we have our right hand on the bottom. Our left hand is holding onto the back with the back hole. Okay, that's our thumb. We're going to take our pointer finger now, and we're going to put it on the first hole. Our other fingers are going to wave, okay? And we're going to leave it there like that, okay? That is our B, okay? One more time. Our thumb's on the back, okay? Our first finger is on the first hole, and that's our B, okay? And that's it. So I'm holding it just like this, okay? So go ahead and hold it. Remember that we're going to have 2 positions. We have ready position. So go ahead and put your recorder down like I have it. Sorry, that's not ready position. That's hold position. Go ahead and be in hold position. Okay, now we're in ready position. Now notice I'm still not blowing on my recorder yet, okay? All right, so then when I'm in ready position, I'm going to go ahead and count to 4. And what I want you to do is I want you to sustain a note. So go ahead and put your recorder down into hold position, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate first. So a sustain note means there's 2 types of notes that we're going to work with, right? So a sustain is I'm going to hold that note, okay? Because I want to practice blowing into the recorder. So I'm going to sustain a note. Listen to mine, okay? It goes like this. Okay. Now, when you do that, you're going to put your mouth over the hole, okay? You don't need to, like, go too deep, though. Just kind of, your lips on the hole, okay? On the top right here. And then you're going to blow as quiet as you can, okay? So if you blow too loud, it's going to start to sound like that. It's going to start to sound weird. You want to blow nice and low. Just... nice and low in an even tone, okay? All right, so let's try it, okay? So hold position, ready position, on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. This symbol, by the way, when I do that, that means to stop, okay? All right. So that's our B. Okay, so let's go back to our music now. So notice that this is our B when it's on this third line up, okay? But these are quarter notes, yeah? So our quarter notes aren't going to be a sustained note. They're going to be quarter notes, okay? So we're going to play the note like jam, 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 jam. So listen to mine. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate, okay? It's going to sound like this. Okay, those are quarter notes, okay? I'm blowing and stopping and blowing and stopping and blowing and stopping, right? Bop, 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 bop. That's what it should sound like, okay? All right, so let's actually, before we get to the music, let's just try some of those quarter notes, yeah? So hold position. Make sure your thumb is on the back hole. Your first finger is on the first hole here in the front, okay? Hold position. Ready position, just quarter notes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember to blow nice and low, okay? You don't want to blow really loud or else it's not going to sound very good, okay? So let's try it one more time, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So let's read our music now, okay? So eyes on that music, okay? So this one says B, 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 right? Read it with me. Okay, let's start from the first measure again. B, 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 B. B, 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 B. B, 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 B. B, 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 rest. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and play this, okay? Again, one more time. I'll play it. I want you to listen, though, okay? And follow along your eyes. So I'm not going to be able to do the pointer and the recorder, okay? So you're going to have to follow along with your eyes, but follow along with me. I'm going to go B, 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 B. And notice I'm going to go through this music, and then I'm going to rest in the last note, okay? So it's going to sound like this, okay? So you listen. I'll play it. Here goes. Did you follow along with me and notice that I did not play? I only played 3 notes in that last measure. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and try it. I'm going to put my recorder down and I want you to play. Okay. I'm going to point to the notes as you're playing. All right, so here we go. It goes B, 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 right? And it's going to do that. Okay, here we go. So hold position. Ready position. 1, 2, 3, 4. B, 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 B. B, 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 rest. Did you stop on that rest? Make sure you do, right? That's very important, okay? All right, so let's try that one more time, yeah? Again, follow along with my pointer here. You can see my pointer. I'm going to make it nice and big. You can see my pointer there, okay? Follow along with it, okay? And make sure you rest on that rest. And the other thing, make sure you keep the sound low, okay? I'm certain some of us may have been blown a little loud. Okay, you want it to be nice and low, okay? All right, so here we go. Let's try it. On 4. Hold position first. Ready position. 1, 2, 3, 4. B, 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 rest. All right. Hey, let's practice those rests, okay? So this one, that's number 2 right here, okay? Let's go ahead and put your recorder down, and I want you to read this, okay? So same note. This is B, right? It's the third one up, okay? Third line up. And it says B, 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 rest, right? B, 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 rest. B, 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 rest. B, 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 rest. Okay, so we have rest after every third note. So it's going to sound like this, right? It's going to go, follow along with me while I play, okay? It's going to sound like this. Notice how I played 3 and then rested each time? Okay, so let's go ahead and try it. You ready? Okay, so hold position. Ready position. Follow along with my cursor. And here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. B, 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 rest. B, 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 rest. B, 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 rest, B, 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 rest. Were you blowing softly? Did you make sure to rest each time we had a rest? Sometimes that's a little hard. Sometimes you just want to keep blowing through those rests, right? But it's very important, especially when we get into learning our songs, okay, that you rest on the rests or else it just won't sound right, okay? All right, let's try it one more time, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. B, 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 rest. B, 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 rest. B, 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 rest. B, 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 rest. All right. So boys and girls, that's probably all we're going to cover today, okay? Go ahead and watch this video again if you want to practice or you weren't sure about something, so that you can kind of work on this, okay, until we meet next time. Also, remember that this workbook that we're working through is online already. So if you go to my website, cngmusic.com, and you go to the instruments part of the web page, you're going to find this workbook there. And so you can practice with this workbook, okay? And maybe you can kind of work on some more of these. There's a few more lines of music for the B. Maybe you can try and work on those for homework this time without me, okay? So we will discuss practice and stuff more like that next time. Just know that the idea here is you probably want to practice at least 15 minutes a day, maybe 20 or even, okay? Or more if you wanted to, but I would say at least 15 minutes a day. You want to sit down and you want to practice the recorder. Especially because it's going to start out a little easy like this, right? Or maybe it's not so easy for you and you really need the practice. But even if it is, right, it's going to start out that way, but it's not going to continue. It's once we start getting more and more notes and getting into songs and melodies, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So you really want to get down these basics now, okay? So at least 15 minutes of practice a day. If you're still waiting to get your recorder, I hope you get it soon, and then you'll be ready for the next lesson, okay? Remember that you can replay these on my YouTube page, so that you can catch up, okay? All right, boys and girls. Thank you for following along with me. I will see you guys next time, okay? Enjoy your practice. Bye, guys.